What's up, Eagles Nation? Welcome to Wildcard Weekend 2020. Yes, Happy New Year 2020, of course. And Wildcard Weekend 2020 is upon us here. And you know, the records again just go out the window. I really don't care what the what the regular season records are, because that's what it is. It's regular season records right now. As the old saying goes, everyone's 0-0. It's a new season. It's the playoffs, and it is. It's survive in advance, win and move on. You lose, your season ends. And it's exciting to me. It's because as I said before, I would much rather see have a chance, playing this weekend, than the alternative, than be sitting at home. Well, I am sitting at home, but for the teams to be sitting at home, not even in the playoffs, not have a chance, and then we're basically thinking about, okay, who's going to be on the team next season, who's not, what's the draft thing, all this and that. It's obviously much better when your team's in it, when your team's in the playoffs, and you can talk about, a potential, a big game, and in this case, a home game against Seattle, for a chance to get to where the Eagles have been the last few years, the divisional round. This team was one of the Elite Eight, if you will, in the past few seasons. They were one of the teams that was in the divisional round, of course, last year losing in New Orleans, the year before winning against Atlanta at home to play the Vikings for the NFC title game, which of course they won, and then won Super Bowl 52. But you can't get there unless you win the game, and you can't get to this game unless you did enough in the regular season to get to the playoffs. And, people can say it all they want about this division. It's a weak division, blah, 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 whatever. But the Eagles still had to fight. They still had to come from behind to get that division, to wrestle it away from Dallas and win the division title a week ago with a win against the New York Giants. And, what to me, what's made this so much fun and so much so special in a way is the fact that who they've done it with. I mean, I'm looking at guys coming in basically off the street to play offense. Guys who weren't on the team when the season began, like Greg Ward Jr., like Boston Scott, 3 touchdowns a week ago. And on both sides of the ball, guys that are stepping up. Guys that are playing with that pride, with that passion, with that want to survive, to keep winning, to make the playoffs, to get the division title. This is where you got to throw the records out the window. Because it's like having a completely different team. It's like there were 2 Eagle teams. There was the one that started the season and played throughout the season, and there was malcontents, and there was, finger pointing, and there was quotes in the media, and there was all sorts of stuff. And then you have this team with a bunch of guys off the practice squad, with guys off the street, with rookies really, stepping in and playing well. And obviously, the two constants of it all has been Carson Wentz and Doug Peterson. And, is Doug Peterson a perfect coach? No. Does he make mistakes? Yes. Okay. I think sometimes he gets too pass happy with the play calling and the like. But at the same time, the proof's in the pudding, as it were. This team in December has one of the best winning percentages in all of football since Doug Peterson's come aboard to be the head coach. And that includes his first season with the team when he basically was a rookie coach. They have won more games in December than not. They have finished the season well. They have made the playoffs the last 3 years. And they have a very high winning percentage in the month of December. And that's when you have to be playing your best football. Because that's when either you're jockeying for a position, maybe a higher seed or what have you, or just to make the playoffs like it was the last 2 years. Or if you're just, again, making your way, getting to that next level. And the playoffs is the next level. And you have to kind of prepare for that next level. The mindset has to be a little different. Your play has to be more crisp, once you get there. And what we've seen in the last few years is that's exactly what's happened. And I think another thing that's been, to the credit of Doug Peterson and the coaching staff has been that they've done it with two different quarterbacks. They did it with Carson Wentz, they did it with Nick Foles. And I think that says a lot. I mean, how many teams do you see in the league with different quarterbacks that can't win? They can't make the playoffs. Listen, not for nothing, Dallas, the Cowboys are a much more talented team on paper than the Philadelphia Eagles. This season, last season, okay? Look at the talent that team has. But what's the difference? They don't have this. They don't have it in here. They're mental midgets, that team, okay? You can blame the coaching staff all you want. And yeah, Dallas's coaching staff, we know about the Clapper, okay? That's who's gone, and he will be missed by Eagle fans. Okay, Mr. Garrett. But at the same time, there's enough talent on that team that they should have won. The players on the field should have been able to do their job, right? The old Bill Belichick saying, "Do your job." They couldn't do their job. In the biggest moments when all was on the line, they couldn't do it. And in the biggest moments when all was on the line with lesser talent at the skill positions, the Eagles were able to do it this season. And I'll even say last season, when they rode that, that second half comeback with Nick Foles to make the playoffs. And yeah, they had some help. The Vikings crumbling at the end and whatnot. But they still got it. They won the games they had to win. And the same thing goes this season. They had to win 4 straight games. I don't care who they played. It doesn't matter to me. Oh, they played the Giants twice. They played the Redskins. They played Dallas. Well, yeah, they had to win those games. If they would have lost one of those games, they're not in the playoffs right now. And conversely, you look around. Seattle lost at home to Arizona. The Patriots, with a first round bye on the line, loses at home to the Miami Dolphins. And I've the past few weeks I find it very funny how people are talking about it and saying, well, the Eagles, they just beat the Giants and the Redskins and they got in, but who did they really play to get in and blah, blah, blah. And at the same time, they can kind of wave off the Patriots losing to the Dolphins. And I know the Patriots have done a lot more than the Eagles in Super Bowl wins and won. I think at Super Bowl 52 though. But they've done a lot more, so maybe they've earned, they lose to the Dolphins, oh well. That's a pretty big loss for them. I mean, you have an older team with a first-round bye on the line, and you can't win at home against the Miami Dolphins, who always seem to be good for a win against the Patriots every year. But nonetheless, that was a huge loss for them. Seattle losing at home to the Cardinals 2 weeks ago was a huge loss. I mean, it basically cost them a division title. It cost them a first-round bye and home field advantage. Those are big losses. But when the Eagles beat the Giants, it's the Giants. They're supposed to beat the Giants. Really? Were people saying, well, they're supposed to beat the Giants some weeks ago when they lost in Miami and gave up 5 straight touchdown drives to the Dolphins? But it takes a mentality to do it in December. It takes a will, a want to, leaders on both sides of the ball to get it done. And it takes a good coaching staff, and that's what the Eagles have. And I know that they've been under fire a lot this season, and rightfully so. But at the end of the day, I think we have to give credit where credit's due. Doug Peterson and coaching staff did a good job. Jim Schwartz did a good job and to put this team in position to get a division title, and in a crappy division, that's well stated, but still a division title and a trip to the playoffs and a home playoff game against Seattle. And I'll say it, a winnable game against Seattle. A team that, like the Eagles, comes in with some injuries, inconsistencies. Look, Seattle isn't playing their best football right now. The Eagles are. Yeah, we lost to them earlier in the season. What was it, like 17-9 or whatever that game was? Ugly game. Offense wasn't playing well. Seattle missed some plays too, but it wasn't a great game by them. It's like both teams really weren't playing their best game that day. Seattle won. They made more plays than the Eagles. It was a different game. It was a different Eagles team. It was a different Seahawks team. And I do believe that if the Eagles play their game the way that they've been playing, even with the fact that they're doing this with a bunch of practice squad, basically a practice squad wide receiving core, Young, inexperienced players at running back, whether it's Miles Sanders or Boston Scott or who have you. I don't know how much Jordan Howard's going to get the ball tomorrow. But even with all that, the fact you don't have one of your top pass catchers in Zach Ertz, the fact that your veteran receivers are all gone, not going to play. But the fact of the matter is, the quarterback, number 11, Carson, is playing his best football of the season right now. Getting it done. What's it everyone's always said about quarterbacks? They have to make the players around them better. I think Carson's done that. I mean, he's had the least talent this December than he's ever had. Yet he's making these players better around him. And it's been a great job. It's been a great job all around. I look at other young, hungry guys on the defensive side of the ball. Was at the defensive end, Sweat, playing really well. Guys that want it, guys that are playing with fire and passion. And that's what we want to see. As Eagle fans, this is what we want. This is always what we want to see with this team. Play with that emotion. Play with that fire. Play with that passion, because that's what the fans bring every week. Well, now we have that. And we've been fortunate that we've had that the past, 3 years now, making the playoffs all 3 years. Really, they've had their best success since the Andy Reid years in these 3-year stretch. Because they certainly didn't do it with Chip Kelly. They made the playoffs once with him. The next 2 years were less than good. Let's just say. The 1 year fell apart after beating Dallas on Thanksgiving, and then the next year they were just it was a complete dumpster fire. So good job all around. And I don't care what division they're in. The Patriots, they're not apologizing all these years for playing in a division with really no other threats to them for the most part. Buffalo's playing a little better now. But all those other years, who's been in their division? Buffalo wasn't good. Miami wasn't good. The Jets weren't good for the most part. Are they apologizing for winning a weak AFC East every year and most years getting a first-round bye because they're fattening up their records by beating those teams 6 times a year for the most part? No. It doesn't matter to them because they're not responsible for those other teams in the division. And for the Eagles, it's not their fault that the Redskins are what they are and the Giants are what they are and Dallas is, talented but can't put it together with that talent. It's not the Eagles' fault. They can only take care of what they can control, and that's this team. And for the past 3 years, that's exactly what they've done. They've made the playoffs. They won a Super Bowl. They've had playoff success, double doink in Chicago, and now here we are again, a year later, although this time at home against Seattle in the wild card round, with a chance, if they can win, to go to the divisional round and yet again be one of the representatives in the NFL and the NFL's Elite Eight. In the divisional round, you got 8 teams left. 3 straight years. That's pretty impressive. That is pretty impressive. But obviously they have to win this game. And I think they will. I know Seattle's been a bugaboo team for them for years. They haven't beaten Seattle in the Doug Peterson era, and Carson Wentz has never beat Russell Wilson and all that I get. But I do believe that this team is playing their best football right now. They are at home. I know Seattle beat us at home earlier in the year. It was a different situation. I know the fans are certainly going to be in full throat. It's a late game, so the fans are going to be able to have a few more in them going into the game. And I think that they will be a factor in the game. And I think the Eagles playing the way they are, to me, it's going to be a tough game. I think it's going to be a low-scoring affair. But at the same time, I can see this team winning this game. I really can. I have a good feeling about this game. I do think Seattle's kind of right for the taking. I think we're overdue to beat them. It's been a while. So I just think it's our time. I think that this team has had, Seattle's had a lot of playoff experience too, but I think the Eagles certainly have had playoff experience. And they know how to win at home in the playoffs. They did so in 2017 twice to go to the Super Bowl. Okay, so this team does play well at home for the most part. And hey, look, you could say it wasn't playoff games, and it wasn't. It was regular season games, but they've basically been in 4 playoff games going into this week. Certainly the last 2 weeks, for sure, going into this week. The win against Dallas at home, and then the win in the Meadowlands last week against the Giants to put themselves in position to win a division title and make the playoffs. It's basically playoff games. Look, again, as I've said, as an Eagles fan, this is all I can ask for. making the playoffs, seeing the team in the playoffs, having a playoff game to look forward to tomorrow. Going to sit back, watch the playoff games today in the AFC, and then tomorrow you have the Vikings and the Saints to basically be the appetizer for the Eagles Seahawks game on NBC. But I look forward to it. I'm glad they're in it. I'm wearing my the 92 jersey here, of course, great Reggie White. This is from the 92 season, the win for Jerome year. And I watched, there were highlights on Facebook, the viewer Facebook video earlier in one of the Eagle fans group. They put up of the playoff game against the Saints in the Superdome. And that was like, this 92 was the first year I really could remember being an Eagles fan. Really starting to follow, football and start following the Eagles, of course. And, of course, that year they beat the Saints in the Wildcard game in the Superdome to win in the Wildcard round. It was the only win, unfortunately, that the Eagles had with Randall and with Reggie and, all those Eagles that were part of that era of Eagles football. And, of course, the following week they lost in the divisional round at Dallas. But it was one of the memories that I have of early memories I have of the Eagles was wearing this uniform, and Fred Barnett with the touchdowns, and he was like one of my first favorite Eagles, and Reggie, of course, and it's a shame. It's a shame that was the only time that this team could win in those days. And, of course, the following season, Reggie would go to the Packers as a free agent and really become the start of the free agent boom, at that time. Reggie was one of the first to do it. And, unfortunately, this was Reggie's last win as an Eagle, was that game at the Superdome. But they wore this jersey with the Jerome patch. And also, I figured that, going into Wildcard Weekend, it might be appropriate to wear this for this video. Of course, like I said, I have my lucky Brian Dawkins jersey that I wear for the big games. So I'll be wearing that one tomorrow during the game. The only time I didn't wear it was the Super Bowl. But that's because I got the Super Bowl 52 Fletcher Cox jersey. And to date, it's still one of my all-time favorite jerseys in my collection because it was the Super Bowl jersey, and it was the jersey I wore watching them win the Super Bowl and then at the parade. So that one's, with all due respect to the Reggie jersey and to my lucky Brian Dawkins jersey and to, the other jerseys in the collection, that's the one that's probably my favorite all-time Eagle jersey because it just has so many sentimental values to me. And you might excuse that fact for that. I have a lot of really good ones in the collection, but the Fletcher Super Bowl 52, that's probably my top because, again, I wore that, for the Super Bowl and for the parade and everything that came with that I always, as all Eagle fans, always waited and hoped for that moment, and then we had it. And you can go back and look at the video on Facebook. It's on here. The Eagles winning the Super Bowl if you want to relive it. No, but I'm going to wrap this video up. My voice is not, where I'd like it to be. My throat's still a little... I'm getting over the cold. It's certainly better than it was. Oh, goodness. The couple nights ago, I could hardly sleep, coughing so much. So I'm happy for that. And, I am looking forward to tomorrow. 4:40 kickoff time at the Linc, Eagles and the Seahawks. I'll be watching the game. And not a house full of friends today, this weekend. I guess I'm just taking a break from that for this week. But I'm just gonna be here in the excuse me, the man cave here in the Mighty Kingdom to watch the game, and hope to see a win. I believe it will be a win. My prediction is 24-17 Eagles win, and we'll go to more than likely San Francisco for the divisional round, and we'll see what happens there. But we have to get to that first. Let's just deal with this game, worry about this game, and if they can win this one, which I believe they will, we'll be going on the road to more than likely San Francisco. And at that time, they'll probably start getting some guys back. I think Lane Johnson, who's not playing tomorrow, will be back by then. Deshaun Jackson might be back by then. Maybe even Zach Ertz. We'll see. If he doesn't play this week, we'll see. So they're starting to get some guys back, which is good. again, we've hardly seen Deshaun this season, right? We barely saw him. We saw him week 1, scored 2 touchdowns against the Redskins. He had a cameo against the Falcons and then against the Bears, and then that was it. So it would be nice to see him back, and I think he'll be a welcome addition, explosive, a welcome addition. Take the cover off the receiver that he is. So certainly that would be good. But hey, you gotta get there first. And like I said, hey, they've been playing really good. Their best football to this point has been in the month of December. They have played really well. They put themselves in position to win shirts and hats for a division title and to get to the postseason and have a home game in the wildcard round against Seattle. So, as always, let's go Birds, our Birds, not the Pacific Northwest ones. Our Birds, the Green Birds, the midnight green birds. Seattle has that like neon green in their color scheme. But let's go our Birds tomorrow. Festive is hoping for good things tomorrow too. By the way, Festive finishes the season 40-24, I believe the record was. Festive only went 1-3 last week. I know Festive wasn't too pleased with the Patriots. As I said last week, it was taking the hanging fruit. Well, the hanging fruit was sour, unfortunately. I did enjoy seeing the Patriots lose. That was oh my goodness, they're actually playing on Wildcard Weekend. Oh my. When's the last time we've seen that, New England? But no, should be some good games this weekend. And not just the Eagles game, obviously. I think the games today might be pretty good. Buffalo and Houston kicks it off in Houston. And then the late game, of course, is the Patriots Titans game. And that should be a pretty good one. And then, of course, tomorrow, as I said, the Saints host the Vikings. And, of course, the Eagles host the Seahawks. So, hey, I think it'll be a 4-pack of good games. Some intriguing matchups there. And hey, now we're in the second season. Now we're in the playoffs. And I'm happy as an Eagles fan yet again. My Birds are in the playoffs 3 straight years. So that's pretty good. All right, everyone. Thanks for watching. Let's go our Birds tomorrow against the Pacific Northwest ones. I'm predicting a victory 24-17 to move on to the divisional round, and then we'll worry about that game next week, but we have to get through this one first. To all you who are going to the game, hey, be the difference. Seattle has that 12th man thing going on, right? The Eagles, you could be the 12th, 13th, you could be the 1,000th man tomorrow, okay, onto the field. Make that noise. Be passionate, be proud as Eagle fans. Be the difference in an Eagles victory tomorrow over the Seahawks. And then we're moving on to the divisional round. And that's pretty good. All right, everyone. I'll see you all after the game. And let's go Eagles. All right.